Hey guys, sorry about the delay. I just had a couple issues take priority over making YouTube videos the past few weeks, so hopefully you'll forgive me for the holdup, but you'll also grant me some understanding, and we can get right back into finishing this Logical Fallacies series, and then we can either start a new series or maybe start addressing some new topics. So let's get right back into it, shall we? Alright, here's a list of entire fallacies, and here are the fallacies which I'll be attempting to explain during this video. So we'll begin with one of the more common fallacies, known as circular reasoning. And here's a video of Sam Harris discussing the existence or absence of God with Rabbi David Volpe. So let's listen to him give you the first example of circular reasoning.
Where is God? God is the intangible creator of the universe, in whose presence a human being can live, and according to whose dictates or will a human being can live in this world.
But what is your evidence for the existence of God right now?
I don't have evidence because it's not a scientific claim. Okay. If you want to make that a scientific claim, you can, but I'm telling you it's a metaphysical claim, and to confuse the two is a mistake.
Okay, you can add any metaphysics you want.
Thank you.
By that means, I mean, I can say, I see you as a reincarnate personality, and I think you were probably
I was someone famous
on Atlantis. Yes.
Right. Don't make me like a washerwoman in a
people do this all the time. For example, the people who think Elvis is still alive. Okay, what's wrong with this claim? I mean, why is this claim not vitiating our academic departments and corporations? I mean, I'll tell you why, and it's very simple. We have not passed laws against believing Elvis is still alive. The problem is that whenever somebody seriously represents his belief that Elvis is still alive, in a conversation, on a first date, at a lecture, at a job interview, he immediately pays a price. He pays a price in ill-concealed laughter.
Right. Now, surely you can agree with him.
That is a good thing. Then he could rattle on about, this is not a scientific claim, this is a matter of faith. When I look at you, I see you might be Elvis. I mean,
Circular reasoning, sometimes known as circulus in demonstrando. Now let's go ahead with a Bible verse which I'm sure many of you have heard. John 1:1-2. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Now all that argument is saying is that the Bible is the Word of God, because it says that the Word was not only with God, but that the Word was God. So the Bible must be God because it says that it's God. Now, did you all see the flawed reasoning used to validate that argument? Let's take a look at that again. The Bible is the Word of God because the Word of God is the Bible. Now, this kind of reasoning would hold true if and only if the first statement, i.e. the Bible is the Word of God, was proven to be demonstrably true. But no religious text has ever been proven to be the word of any God. So that argument really doesn't prove anything except that the person presenting it speaks in circles. Begging the question, petitio principii, assuming the initial point. Another kind of circular reasoning fallacy in which a claim is assumed to be true and then is tucked into the conclusion. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm involved in a discussion about the origins of the universe and the natural world. When the person I'm debating asks the question, who created the universe? And I'll turn this over to the guys at Atheist Experience to refute that claim.
Hey, have you ever gone out of your comfort zone and gone into nature, been on your own, with no friends around, nobody, just yourself, thought to yourself, who's behind all this? I'm talking about...
Who's behind what?
Just the Earth and how it rotates and the moon and how it come...
Okay. Why do you think the question should be phrased in the form of a who?
Well, I mean, it's bigger than man, isn't it?
Well,
yeah, there's
lots
of
an
stuff
elephant.
that's bigger than me.
So
is a tree. Is a tree a who?
But the tree is part of what we live in. Who's behind the tree?
Okay, but it's bigger than man. That's what you were just saying.
You still haven't answered the first question.
Why do you say who?
Well, I mean, can you answer that yourself?
No,
we're
I
saying
think I
the
know-
question is wrong.
Yeah, why did you say who?
I agree that existence, the universe as a whole, requires an explanation. I
Correct.
just don't agree that that explanation is a who.
Okay.
So
Well,
you're starting with a question that is flawed, a question that requires some justification. If you want to say who is responsible for the universe, then you first have to demonstrate that it's actually a who and not a what.
Oh, you. I completely agree with the host Matt Dillahunty. Existence and the unexplained in its entirety calls for an explanation. But to play make-believe and pretend that these answers are somehow better than naturalistic explanations is unbearably ignorant. Remember, guys, fairy tales are for children. And when your only answer is, I don't know how it happened, so God must have done it, well, that means you've already lost this debate. Equivocation, sometimes referred to as an amphibole. Equivocation is a fallacy that stems from the ambiguous or unclear meaning of certain words. The syllogism appears to be valid, but in fact is fallacious because of the subtle shift in meaning. We'll take a look at the definition of the word faith as an example. Now, the universally applicable definition for the word faith is a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. And religionists will often say, no, my faith is my trust or my allegiance to God. Well, they still have not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there even is a God that exists or a God that manifests his presence. So actually, their faith fits the prior definition, meaning that their firm belief is still for something which there is no evidence. Invincible ignorance. Invincible ignorance is the fallacy on insisting that the legitimacy of one's position in the face of contradictory facts. Statements like, I really don't care what the experts say, no one is going to convince me that I'm wrong, nothing you say is going to change my mind, or yeah, okay, whatever, are examples of this fallacy. Now, do you guys remember the 10 Commandments?
All pay heed! The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 10 commandments for all to obey.
Well, if the 10 Commandments were written by the finger of God himself in Exodus 20, and Jesus is God in John 8, John 10, Colossians 1, etc., then why does Jesus disagree with them so often? John 5, Luke 14, Matthew 21, etc. And let's say that you were to bring up this point in a debate. Well, I can almost guarantee you that the other person is just going to make up some excuse, twist your words, talk in circles, or bastardize logic until you change topics. The thing about an argument like that is that one can literally make up anything and profess that they believe it. Oh, and they'll probably play the nothing you say is going to change my mind or whatever card a few times before you finish. Speaking of the 10 Commandments, the 10 Commandments are not even close to what could be considered a moral guide. And it's so upsetting to watch people like Kirk Cameron and Ray Comfort profess that they are. It's just so insulting to listen to people like that say that the 10 Commandments are a moral guide. Let me read a quote from the philosopher Robert Greene Ingersoll. If the 10 Commandments had been given against slavery and polygamy, against wars of invasion and extermination, against religious persecution in all its forms, so that the world could be free, so that the brain might be developed and the heart civilized, then we might, with propriety, call such commandments a moral guide. Alright guys, that's it. Here's a list of fallacies from philosophicalsociety.com, and here are the fallacies that we've covered so far. I'd really like to just start a new topic, maybe start another series, or just address some new issues. But I want to thank you guys for continuing to watch them, and I hope to see you again soon.